There he is, officer. That's the man who broke into my house. Arrest him. The voice, sharp and panicked, sliced through the still suburban air. I stood frozen, gripping the handle of my suitcase, staring at the flashing red and blue lights washing over the clean, polished exterior of my own home. I'm a cybersecurity consultant, and I had just come back 2 weeks earlier than planned from a major project in Tokyo. The woman pointing at me from my own front porch, Barbara, the overly controlling HOA president, had apparently moved in while I was away. She was wearing my silk bathrobe. The sheer absurdity of the situation was almost impossible to process. She had called the police on me, accusing me of trespassing on my own property, while she was the one living inside it. What she didn't realize was that my early return wasn't random, and the phone I held up wasn't just for casual photos. She had just walked straight into the most carefully documented technological trap of her life. If you're watching this, drop a comment telling me where you're from, because the story of how this HOA Karen ended up getting arrested for felony burglary right in front of the entire neighborhood is completely insane. It all began 6 months earlier when I purchased what I consider my dream home. After years of grinding through cramped apartments while building my consultancy, I finally had the means to buy a peaceful retreat. It was a large, sleek structure of glass and steel, located in a wealthy oak-lined subdivision that promised quiet and privacy. The kind of place with more lawn care services per household than a golf course. I traveled constantly for work, dealing with international corporations and their complex security systems. So my home was meant to be my sanctuary, my fortress. The one problem I hadn't fully accounted for was a homeowners association, and its president, Barbara Clean. My first interaction with her came less than a week after moving in. She showed up at my door holding a clipboard like it was sacred. She was in her late 50s, trying hard to appear younger, with unnaturally blonde hair pulled into a tight ponytail and wearing expensive-looking but slightly ill-fitting resort clothes. Her car, a 10-year-old Mercedes, was spotless, an almost perfect reflection of her personality, projecting a status she didn't quite possess. With a smile that never reached her cold eyes, she informed me that my sleek black steel mailbox, which matched the house perfectly, violated HOA rules. The approved version was an ugly colonial-style green box. The fine would be $50 per day. I tried reasoning with her, explaining the mailbox was part of the home's design, but it was like arguing with a wall, an extremely condescending one. Rules exist for a reason, she said brightly. They preserve the aesthetic of the community. I looked from her outdated taste in my modern home and wondered what aesthetic she meant. To avoid unnecessary conflict while settling in, I gave in and bought the green mailbox. That was my mistake. It showed her I would bend. After that, the violations kept coming. My garbage bins were visible for 45 minutes past the allowed time. A small Japanese maple tree I planted wasn't on the approved list. I got a warning because a package sat on my porch for over 3 hours, labeled an eyesore. Every notice came with smug wording and threats of fines. It was like a slow war fought through paperwork. One afternoon, my neighbor Arthur, a retired engineer and professor, caught me measuring my lawn height with a ruler. He laughed and said, "Getting the barber treatment, I see." He warned me not to let her get under my skin. According to him, she had been running the HOA like her personal kingdom for years and seemed to resent anyone with a newer, bigger home. He even mentioned she once tried to find a family over too many balloons at a child's birthday party. Then came a major opportunity. A high-stakes contract in Tokyo that required me to be gone for a full month. As required, I informed the HOA of my travel dates. I set my custom-built security system before leaving. It wasn't just basic sensors. It was a fully integrated network logging every detail of the house. Cameras covered every angle, and the system tracked everything from temperature changes to appliance use. The first week abroad was busy, but during the second week, something felt off. The data log showed irregular patterns. The thermostat had been manually adjusted. Then the fridge recorded new items I never bought: milk, yogurt, cheap wine. I checked my media server logs and saw someone had used my account to watch hours of reality TV. That's when I knew it wasn't a glitch. Someone was inside my house. When I accessed camera feeds, my heart nearly stopped. Barbara and her husband Gary were sitting comfortably in my living room, drinking from my glasses and watching my TV. They weren't robbing me. They were living there. It didn't take long to figure out how. The HOA required homeowners to provide keys for emergencies, and Barbara had access. She must have entered under a false excuse and then simply stayed. I wanted to call the police immediately, but I knew it wouldn't be enough. I needed undeniable proof. So instead, I began documenting everything. From Tokyo, I monitored every movement, recording footage, tracking data, and collecting evidence. The most disturbing moment came when I saw her trying on my late wife Eleanor's clothes. That turned my anger into something deeply personal. Still, I stayed focused. I gathered logs, audio recordings, and timelines of their activity. Eventually, I captured the evidence I needed, Barbara openly admitting on a call that she knew I was away and was taking advantage of it. Another recording revealed her plan to leave before I returned, so I'd never know. That was the final piece. I contacted my lawyer, David Chun. When he saw the evidence, even he was stunned. Together, we planned carefully. Instead of returning on schedule, I would come back early and catch her off guard. The plan worked perfectly. I arrived quietly, approached my home, and saw her relaxing on my porch like she owned the place. When she spotted me, panic flashed across her face, but it quickly turned into aggression. She called the police, claiming I was trespassing. When officers arrived, I remained calm. I showed my ID, unlocked the door with my fingerprint, and let the truth unfold. My lawyer arrived moments later, presenting evidence that completely destroyed her story. Barbara had built her own trap and walked straight into it.